So it seems we've got a brand new leak on 4chan for the Elder Scrolls 6 from, of course, an anonymous user. And I found it whilst browsing the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit, and I thought it would be interesting just to go over this. But of course, with every single speculation, rumor and leak on this channel, take it with a grain of salt. So let's go over this leak and break it down and kind of see what's plausible and what's not. So this was originally on 4chan by an anonymous user, but Rudrap72 on the subreddit put it all into one single compressed article. So they start off by saying Hammerfall and the fact that they're not going to be spoiling any story details as of right now, as they only know very little. But bad news first, if all goes well, late 2028 will be the release, and that will literally be a decade since the first announcement trailer for the Elder Scrolls 6 back in 2018. And Bethesda has been working on the Elder Scrolls 6 even while Starfield was in development. Now it seems that all hands are on deck and Elder Scrolls 6 is the focus for the studio. However, they do design and produce other games in the background, a lot of concept designing and future forward planning for like Fallout 5, and of course the Starfield update and Starfield DLC expansions. But it's very easy to predict this kind of thing, so let's move on. The protagonist is a prisoner, implied to be a pirate on a small prison island near the city of Sentinel. He wakes up during a riot, leaves the island on a boat impersonating a messenger, arrives by boat at the port of the Sentinel at dusk. Big world reveal moment goes here. This is where the tutorial area ends and the game begins. Now this does sound like something that we've seen in the Elder Scrolls games, as it always starts off as you as a prisoner, and then you have the big epic escape moment, which is basically the tutorial of the game, as we've seen in Oblivion and Skyrim, and I even think Morrowind had it too. However, given a predetermined backstory like our character being a pirate, doesn't seem like something that we'll see in an Elder Scrolls game, as they usually allow an open-ended head narrative for us to create ourselves and through the perks and progressions that we and the choices that we make during the game. However, pirate could be a very broad term. It could even be a mistake, like how we were a criminal at the beginning of Skyrim, but apparently that seemed to be a mistake and we weren't really supposed to be there and we were about to get our head chopped off. So it could be a similar situation here, or it could be that we were just traveling, and it could be that a group of pirates captured us, and that's where the prologue starts. It continues by saying cities and villages are open, and now to drop a bomb. Most of the small buildings are open. Locked behind load screens are big buildings like palaces, keeps, guild halls, inns, and etc. This is ongoing work and it's keeping a lot of people awake at night. Massive engine work to make this function. City of Sentinel is 3 times the size of Aquila City from Starfield, but not as dense. As I understand, some space is needed between the open buildings for proper loading and unloading of assets. Now the level design will help mitigate this, as well as other small details like door opening animations. This created numerous issues, and one of them is, believe it or not, windows. While inside small buildings you should be able to look through windows, but when you are on the outside from X distance you should be able to see inside, which is a problem and created a lot of discussions and testing about how far you should be from a house to look inside, and this also affects the distance of which the assets start to load and what specific asset type should load. When you come close to a big building with a loading screen, you cannot see inside as the asset load is too big, and when you are inside, what happens when looking through windows, as the outside world needs to be unloaded. In the end, frosted glass is used, in some cases transparent, and for buildings with the load screen a parallax exterior is added. Windows cannot be opened. Lockpicking windows was considered. So let's start off with cities and villages being open. So it doesn't seem like we're going to have a load screen behind loading into a city like in Skyrim where we had to load into Whiterun. What this rumor is implying is now that the cities will be open and will be seamless with the rest of the open world. Small buildings will also be open, where again in Skyrim we had to load into going into our house, load into going into a market shop, all the small buildings. However, that is a natural progression, of course, something that I did kind of expect to be in the Elder Scrolls 6, and it will really make our gameplay experience way more immersive. But of course, the bigger buildings, it seems that they can't really do this as there are just so much assets to load, and it seems like the creation engine here is having a little bit of trouble making this a seamless experience. Personally, I don't really mind that, and it seems that we're going to have some door opening animations to help reduce these load times in loading into these big buildings, to kind of make it feel much more seamless than just going directly into a load screen. Kind of how elevators and those crawl through spaces that we see in other open world games, where they're kind of a bit drawn out just so that the assets can load for the next area. It seems that this leak is implying that there's going to be some animation to help it at least feel more seamless than it actually is. Now with the Windows issue, it does seem like that is a very technical thing, and again that's where great game designers come in and they find solutions behind this problem. And it seems like they really did try to make windows a big factor in this game, where you could even lockpick windows, and I assume that you would be able to sneak into a house or building by lockpicking a window and then jumping right in. They seemingly wanted this for the bigger buildings too, but there seems to be some technical limitations with the creation engine here. And according to this, the devs even wanted us to be able to look inside these bigger buildings with transparent windows so we can kind of scope out what's in there. And it seems that again, the creation engine is having a hard time with this due to the amount of assets within these big buildings, and they're using systems like frosted glass and parallax interior and exteriors, which is basically kind of like a pre-rendered fake version, I believe, of the interior, kind of how we see in Spider-Man. And you look at the bigger buildings, you can kind of see an office space. That's not actually an interior of the building, it's just kind of like an image to give it the illusion that that is a built out place by the developers. Lee continues that the game world is 1.7 times Skyrim, and it has a muted color scheme, and it's bleak like Skyrim in order to reflect the harsh environment of Hammerfell and as an expression of the local culture. Beast races have more human facial characteristics compared to Skyrim. Dunmer voices are harsh like in Morrowind. Me personally, I thought they would kind of make Hammerfell a little bit brighter with the sandy areas. I thought we were going to be getting a kind of orangey red type palette of the game. Maybe that we are going to be getting that it's just going to be a little bit more muted and look a lot more bleak like Skyrim. The world being 1.7 times the size of Skyrim is a huge game, and it being a lot more open and seamless, I think will make it a lot easier to explore without the constant loading screens, no matter how short they are. Beast races have more facial features is something that I would expect due to the upgraded technology in facial animation. It continues saying that they recognize the main character and the strong point of Elder Scrolls being the world itself, and they want this to be reflected on all aspects of the game. This will become obvious in the following point. Fast travel from any point of the map is gone, and in its place is going to be fast travel by caravan, horse or camel, boat and crossroad sign. At specific points on the map, cities, villages, road crossing, desert camps, etc., you can talk to the leader of access to the road sign. From there, you can fast travel from coastal cities and villages using boats. This is just added for flavor. And that does seem like we have seen that in a lot of open world games, from Horizon Zero Dawn, The Witcher 3, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Cyberpunk. Seems that we do have fast travel points rather than being able to fast travel from anywhere. And it's something I would definitely believe. Personally, I think this does give a little bit more immersion to the open world. I'm in favor of this decision, definitely. It also goes on to say weapons and armor can be repaired. Worn items have visual degradation. Not to make this a potential problem, worn items have a visual and small percentage of penalty for either damage or armor. So I really like that they're going with that extra bit of detail with the visual degradation, and they don't really want it to be too much of a problem for players to keep having their swords break. It will just get a little bit nerfed as you keep on using it, and will then need to go to a city or maybe get a repair kit just to fix it back up, adding to another layer of immersion within the game. There will also be no cutscenes and no dialogue zoom, so we're not going to have that Oblivion face cam with talking to NPCs. And just like Skyrim, I don't think there were any cutscenes, everything was in game, which is something that I really like, and I feel like it's kind of a flavor for the Elder Scrolls to do that now. Now the next point is quite huge. Skill trainers are making a return, but in a different way. Skill trees have a progression based on tiers: journeyman, apprentice, adept, expert and master. The last two tiers in each skill tree are locked behind a specific trainer quest. Thinking here is, just like in real life, there is a limit to training as a boxer on your own until you get the help of a good coach, and also makes for a more realistic world. Personally, I really like that idea. I think that is very realistic, and I think it just gives a little bit added importance to the masters of this universe who you want to go seek out and train once you get good enough in that skill. You can find journeyman and apprentice skills tomes and spell tomes in the world, in stores and as quest reward. Adept and expert need to be trained after finishing a specific quest. Upon reaching the limits of expert, you will be referred to a master trainer. Multiple adept and expert trainers, but there is only one master trainer, and NPCs will sometimes talk about them. Skill books will no give reward 1 point increase to its associated skill, but reward 1 perk point to the associated tree. So it seems like skill books are no longer going to increase the skill, rather just give you a perk point to choose an ability from that skill tree. It doesn't actually contribute contribute to your raising of rank from adept to expert. Now this will make them much more valuable and will make the player go out into the world and explore, steal, seek out shops, bookstores, etc. Each skill tree has a fixed number of perks acquired from skill books. New to Hammerfell are skill tomes that add specific skills to weapons. Just an example, Shield Bash is an adept skill while Parry is an expert skill. Combo system is added to weapons and will tie into the trainers. The weapon skills is early in design and don't know more about it, but they want melee to be more dynamic and to reflect the lore and skill of the Red Guards. Now, this is a huge upgrade, I would say. It doesn't really allow you to do what we did in Skyrim, where we could become master archers just by using the bow. Now it seems that as we raise in rank, we can get to a certain point by ourselves. The expert and master is locked behind specific quests and master NPCs. Also, I really like this weapon skill system. It does remind me of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, where we had to go visit the master swordsman for him to teach us a counter strike, which made the game incredibly fun in terms of its combat, as I loved doing the master strike and I feel like it gave combat such an edge over the first game. It seems like we're going to be seeing something similar here, according to this rumor of course, as their focus is to make the melee combat much more dynamic. I do think that the combat system needs a major overhaul from Skyrim. And it's not that Skyrim's combat was bad, at the time it was great, but right now it just doesn't compete with anything on the market, especially with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 combat. I would love to see something similar to that, with of course added alchemy and magic, as that is what the Elder Scrolls is known for. Final point is that one additional armor slot is added. We now have left and right gauntlets, and each one has a specific effect tied and will add more build variety. If building a spell sword, right gauntlet will have sword damage or physical damage related stats, while left gauntlet can add magicka or spell damage related stats, or use both for one specific stat. Unrelenting Force is now a spell. New spells are added. You can pick up enemies with a spell and push them with another. You can also pick up items and use as projectiles. So it seems we've got more variety with the armor system, as they've now added gauntlets. And as it says here, it will give us a lot more build variety and customization with our character. I also love that we are going to be getting Unrelenting Force back in this game, and the way they've done it is now that they're going to add it as a spell. And it seems we've got some new spells that allow us to pick up enemies, kind of like the Force in Star Wars, but another specific spell that actually push them away. So with something like this, I would assume that you would need both hands free and equipped with each of these magic spells. And now the fact that you can pick up items and use them as projectiles is very cool, and it adds a lot more variety and dynamic moments within the combat system. Everything from this leak seems very plausible. Apart from the pirate backstory that we're going to be attached with, everything else seems like a genuine thing that could happen in the game and seems almost like an evolution to what we got in Skyrim. It does seem very genuine. Again, these are things that you can easily predict, and if they change, the leaker could always come back and say that these were originally in the game, they were just cut out. It is from an anonymous source from 4chan of all places, but I thought it would be very interesting just to go over it since I saw it on the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit. Let me know what you guys think about this. You could definitely see a lot of this happening in the game. I don't know about the bleaker color scheme. I would just assume that this would be a lot more brighter. Yes, I do believe that some areas may be a lot bleaker. The entire game, like Skyrim being bleak, I just don't see it. Let me know what you guys think. You guys probably know a lot more about Hammerfell as a world. Please let me know in the description. Is that something that is likely to happen in this game? Will we have a bleaker atmosphere? Let me know in the comment section below. And guys, I wanted to announce the Witch Hunt collection, which is going to be the first collection that will be available on the Balboa Club store when it launches. This specific collection is inspired by the Witcher series and the dark fantasy genre. This is a brand that I've really wanted to make for a long time. I didn't just want to make merch, but I wanted to make something special, something that mixes the really cool designs of the wrestling world with the things that we love the most, video games. And of course, the first design had to be inspired by my favorite game of all time, The Witcher 3. So this is something special that I've created for you. I want you to join the club, and I will announce when the store is about to launch through this channel. Now we're even going to TikTok and Instagram. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace out, God bless, and join the Balboa Club today. Bye bye.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.